Hello, greetings. I welcome you all to this important topic in Form 1. So we've got a topic and this is called elements, compound and mixtures. So it is one topic having three subtopics. We've got elements, compounds as well as mixtures. It is very important for you to understand this particular topic. Even as I get to teach you, I want you people to follow me clearly and attentively. So we are going to start with the elements. We need to understand what an element is. So those of you that have covered this topic, those of you that are dealing with another syllabus, but as long as we are dealing with elements, compounds and mixtures, we are talking about the same thing. The first thing you need to get and understand, you need to ask yourself, what is an element? This is the first thing you need to understand. To give you a background information on this particular thing we are calling elements, you need to understand that everything in our environment is made up of elements. You talk of the food you get to eat. We talk of the air that we get to breathe in and out. All those things, the particles, all those are made of elements. Now, the question is, what is an element? You need to understand that an element is a pure substance. So we are talking about what? We are talking about a pure substance that has, so I'll say pure substance that has only, so that has only one what? That has only one kind of what? One kind of atom. That has only one kind of atom. We don't only end here. We proceed and say that this type of a substance and cannot what? And cannot be broken. So we say cannot be what? Cannot be broken. So we say that it cannot be what? It cannot be broken by what? By chemical means. It cannot be broken by what? By chemical means into what? Into smaller ones. So we can say chemical or what? Or physical. So say chemical or physical what? Physical means. So we've got that particular definition that we have from where we are coming from, that it is also correct where we get to say that an element is a substance that is made up of one type of material that cannot be broken down either by chemical means or physical means. It is just one and the same. I'm not changing any definition here. So, but one thing I've just introduced is pure substance. So we should not differ in these things. I'm just talking about the same thing. So before we proceed with this, you need to understand there are substances that we get to call metallic elements. They are what are known as metallic what? Metallic elements. So there is what we get to call metallic element. What is a metallic element? You need to understand that a metallic element, we are just talking about a group of what? This is just a group, I'll say a group of what? A group of elements. So we are saying that this is a group of elements that do what? That ionize. So I'm going to say that ionize. This particular word is ionize. I want you to be getting this. So that ionize what? Ionize by losing. That ionize by what? By losing electrons. So these ionize by losing what? Electrons. That particular element is known as a metallic element. So what is a metallic element? A metallic element is a group of elements that ionize by losing electrons. In simpler language, we just call them metals. We know that a metal, to be stable, it must lose electrons. So metals lose electrons for them to be what? Stable. I'm not changing anything here. We are just talking about the same thing and the language is just the same. I believe you are able to follow me. So you are going to understand that we get to have metallic elements such as what? We can talk of what? We can talk of copper. We can talk of copper. So from copper, you discover that copper from what? Copper we can use to make what? We can make wires, we can make alloy like that. Have you seen? These are some of the examples. So the key thing there is what? Copper. We can talk of lead. So lead is an what? Element. And in our daily application, the good part with Form 1 in Zambia, this is newly introduced. So this is a 2023 kind of syllabus. So you discover that it is some kind of practical and a lot of applications, because we want to train students that will apply what they are learning, not whereby you just want to pass. You don't need to know these things, but you need to make sure that each concept that you get, you need to put it in practice, like in daily life practice, like that. So lead, you discover that we get to find this in what? Car batteries. So in car batteries, we find what? We find lead. And we also get to have calcium. So we can talk of what? Calcium that is in what? Calcium that is in what? That is in cement. So all these are practical examples. And you are going to observe one thing. All these things that I've mentioned here, you are going to observe that they exhibit a characteristic property that gets to be shiny, high melting point, and boiling point. So I'm just talking about the characteristics of what? Metals. Because metals get to have those properties. They are malleable, they are lustrous, sonorous. All these malleable, sonorous, lustrous, these are good. They've got high melting point. These they get to have an electrical conductivity. In other words, they conduct electricity. So all these terms, you need to make sure that you are able to understand them. Aside knowing a metallic element, you also need to understand another thing that we get to call a non-metallic what? Element. What is a non-metallic element? This is another thing. Non-metallic what? Non-metallic element. So we need to understand what a non-metallic element is. I believe you guys are enjoying this. This is something that is so beautiful. I guess you are able to enjoy. So what is a non-metallic element? The opposite of metallic element. So I'm going to say that these ones, I'm going to say that it is a group of what? It is a group of what? Group of elements. So we say that it is a group of what? Group of elements that ionize. So I'm going to say that do what? That ionize. So that ionize by doing what? By gaining. These ones get to ionize by gaining what? Gaining electrons. They ionize by gaining electrons. In simpler words, I'm just talking about what? Non-metals. To make things so simple, I'm just talking about non-metals. So you have to understand all these things. You know that for non-metals to be stable, they need to do what? They need to gain some electrons. This is the reason why these ones are negatively charged. But when we talk of metallic elements, these ones are what? Positively charged, because they lose electrons. So when a particle is losing electrons, you need to understand that it attracts a positive charge. When it is gaining electrons, it attracts a negative charge. So this is what you need to understand. I'm here to help you get a distinction. So if you want tuitions, I don't know if you're a GCE, you are writing, but if you want tuitions, even as we get to progress with the lesson, this is my number. And if you are viewing this channel page for the first time, don't forget to share and follow us. So this is my number, WhatsApp number. I get to offer tuitions. I'm here to help you get that distinction that you want in an easy way without any struggle. So we proceed with this interesting lesson. Examples of non-metallic elements, we get to have fluorine. Fluorine is found in toothpaste. we get to have what we get to call as things like oxygen that is found in respiration. We get to have helium that we get to find in what? In weather balloons. So you are able to understand all these things in your daily life. So these are things that we are familiar with. So now we proceed and look at the other things. So let us proceed, but under this particular topic. So let me lab here so that we can continue with this particular session. So even as we continue now, this is just an intro. But if you want to learn more, I have given you my number. I'm here to make sure that I help you. So just a diagram or a structure representation of this one that you get to call a metallic what? This one that is called a metallic element. We can look at something that is like this. So this is just an example. So I just want you to understand. So this is just a solid. The way particles are arranged in a solid, they are closely packed. So they are closely packed. But one cardinal thing is that they are well arranged. So these are what? Well arranged. They follow a certain pattern. Have you seen? You are able to see these are well arranged. So this is an example of a what? Of a metallic element. But when we proceed and go to a non-metallic, so when we go to a non-metallic, there is something you need to understand. So when we go to this one that is here, a non-metallic. So when we go to a non-metallic, there is what we get to call as a monoatomic gaseous element. So the mono, there is a word here that I've introduced. There is what is known as what? A monoatomic. So monoatomic what? Monoatomic gaseous. Monoatomic gaseous what? Element. So monoatomic gaseous element here, these ones are just like this. You can find this one here, it's more like a gas. Have you seen? Like this, it's mono. But when we talk about di, when I say this is a di what? This is a digaseous element. They are two like this. So they get to be two. You can find another one there. You can find another one here. They get to be two. So this is what we get to call as a what? This one is known as a digaseous what? It is known as that we can call it a digaseous monoatomic structure like this. So this is it. This is what you need to get and understand. So I guess we are moving together, and I'm shedding more light on these things. I'm just touching here and there so that you can get one or two things, but I believe you are able to understand everything that I'm teaching here. Without wasting much time, there is one part that I want you people to get. Even as we proceed to the next one, there is also something that you need to get. That is what we call a mixture. So I'll go to that one that is called a mixture. I'll be back with compounds. I'm just introducing these things so that you get to be familiar with them and you try to understand these things. So what is a mixture, first of all? When we are talking about a mixture, you need to understand that a mixture is a what? A mixture is a physical. So we are talking about a what? We are talking about a physical combination. So this is a physical combination of two. So I'll say of two or what? Of two or more substances. So this is a what? This is a mixture. This is a mixture. This is a combination of two or more what? Substances. And you need to understand that when it comes to a mixture, there is what is known as homogeneous mixture. So there is also what is known as an homogeneous mixture. So what is this one called homogeneous mixture? So you need to understand that when we talk about the homogeneous mixture, you need to understand that this is the what? This is the uniform nature. So we talk about a uniform nature, or we can say a composition of what? A composition of substances. A composition of what? Composition of a substance. So composition of substances. So this is how we can term them. So have you seen, we call them a uniform. So homogeneous gets to have a uniform nature or a uniform composition of substances. But when we talk of what we get to call heterogeneous, so when we talk about heterogeneous, you are going to observe that heterogeneous, we are talking about a non-uniform. So this is a non-uniform what? Nature. A non-uniform nature, or I can talk of a composition. I may say composition. So these are words that you need to be comfortable with. Composition of what? Composition of substances. So composition of substances. I guess we are moving together and you are able to understand all these things that I'm teaching here. What is important is getting this particular concept, understand it clearly here at a person level, not whereby once we pass. You need to make sure that even after this particular lesson, you must be able to understand all these things that I'm talking about. So I was just touching on these matters, trying to make sure that you people try to understand. So I can see I still have some time. I can now touch on something that is called compound. So what is a compound? So what is a compound? A mixture, I said, this is a physical combination. When we talk about a compound, you need to understand that this one is a what? This one is a chemical combination. So we get to say that this one is a what? Chemical combination of two. So I will say of two, chemical combination of two or more what? Or more substances. So these particular substances can be elements. We can talk of elements. They can be molecules. Have you seen? So all these are some things that you need to understand. I'll say atoms like this. I will just say, just to make you understand. Though you know that an atom is the smallest particle that can take part in a chemical reaction. Meaning even in elements, it gets to have atoms there. But I've just written like this so that you can try to understand. So you discover that when two elements combine, we get to have a compound. When calcium combines with chlorine, we get to have calcium chloride. So that is another thing that I need to explain. That is another thing that you need to understand. So just introducing this thing and making sure that you get to be familiar with these things. It is now your duty to research more on compound, mixture, elements. Try to understand them clearly, but this information that I've given you, I guess it can help you even perfect an understanding in this. So this is where we get to end from. Thank you so much for your attention. Don't forget to follow us. We've got we are on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. You can follow us. These are the three platforms that are very active: Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. So you can follow us on these platforms using the same name. So make sure you support us. So this is the same name that I get to use. When we talk of support, it does not only include money only. So it doesn't include money only. But even liking, sharing, commenting, that is also another kind of support, because by doing so, you're also helping us reach our target. So make sure you follow, subscribe, comment, and share when you come across our platforms written Harrison J. Zuru Tutor. Thank you so much for your support.